welcome. We are at Tokyo Auto Salon. I'm getting an early start today. There is so much to cover. I was here yesterday for the setup, and if you've been watching the videos, you'll know that I already mentioned that this year looks like it's going to be a little bit more special than usual. I think we definitely did come across some cars that are really going to stand out. So without further ado, I'm just going to start walking and show you guys exactly what I think are standout car from this year's event. And we're going to be starting right here at the top, and this is where Aria Mia always has their booth, right as you come down from hall 1. The lights are still not on. The show will open in about an hour, and I guess I'll start showing you this FD RX-7 that Amemiya-san built, kind of inspired to, you know, the kind of concept cars that Mazda have been releasing over the last decade or so, hinting at the future of a rotary car. He's gone for a bit of a vision type inspiration up front, all covered in carbon fiber vinyl. This is not real carbon. Again, Amemiya-san pushing the envelope when it comes to creating like future cars of what you know, is all about the rotary world. They also have some cool time attack stuff here. Nice Aria Mia wide body kitted FD, massive GT wing at the back. Over here on the other corner is another FD. So 3 FDs from Aria Mia this morning to start off our Tokyo Auto Salon coverage. And of course, as ever, in front of the Aria Mia booth, there are always a ton of other rotaries on display. We got a couple of really recognizable cars. Got an RX-8 there, and this DI Garage yellow FD, Mokoman's FC3S, and an Ito Seaki FD. What a great way to start the show. But wait, it does not end there. Next to this lineup is a very special car, one that I shot probably 15 years ago now. The very famous looking wide body FD, still looking incredibly cool after all these years. All metal work for the fenders, that crazy candy red paint job. Very, very smooth, topped off with this little red carbon ducktail. Take a look from the back. That sits next to the Wise Produce updated FD3S. This is a crazy 4-rotor NA time attack car that we've been seeing at series like Attack. It's built in collaboration with Scoot, so it runs a full 4-rotor Scoot engine, and the owner has gone full-on crazy this year with an updated bumper splitter section here. 787 custom inspired wheels, front and back, and a whole new treatment for the diffuser, making this possibly one of the coolest current FD RX-7s in Japan. Right next to the FD is this insane NA22 with a NA13B. Super cool carved engine setup there. But I think you really have to see this car from the back to really appreciate what they've done with the conversion. It's got that deck lid swap that makes it look kind of like an old SA22. Very, very cool. Of course, if you are into JDM cars, you will know this brand very well. Fujitsu has been making exhaust system for Japanese cars since the beginning of time, really, and they always have a cool booth here at Tokyo Auto Salon. This year they have some classics. Super cool RX-3 here, propped up so we can get a look at the exhaust system under there. People are still getting ready, of course, vacuum away. An interesting setup here for this hachiroku. I'm not really sure what's going on here. You can see what the layout looks like from the mirror, and then this kind of like a garden hose thing at the end. And here Fujitsu have laid out all their exhaust systems, kind of giving you an idea of what their work is all about. Lots of different designs when it comes to tail ends, and of course materials. You have stainless steel, titanium, crazy manifolds for the GR86, right across to stuff for the DC2 Integra. So one thing that you'll be seeing along with me on this walk through Tokyo Auto Salon is that probably the most popular car here for 2025 is a brand new Toyota Land Cruiser, which here in Japan replaces the Land Cruiser Prado. So it's the narrow body, kind of one step down from the LC 300. But this thing has become the most popular truck of the year. There are so many to be seen at the show today, starting off with this one here from Blitz, sitting right next to their LBX Lexus mini SUV. And one car I literally drooled over yesterday was this Z31 Sora from Trust. This thing is absolutely sick. Super clean body, pretty much stock on the outside. Nice selection of wheels here. This is built in collaboration with Work Wheels and Moontech. But the real showpiece for this car is the engine. We'll see if they can open it up for us. I just heard the hood pop. Talk about good timing. And you guys are gonna love this one. Now that is one sick engine setup. So this car is definitely all about the engine. What we have here is a fully tuned 6M, and right alongside are two TD05 turbos. It kind of looks like an old drag setup from the early 90s. I just love the look of this engine setup. Pushing out 500 horsepower. It's good for 600, but they've decided to keep it reliable. And this is definitely one car we have to head to Trust and do a full video on, because this is so good. This is such a great start to the show. Right, we keep going. Right next to Z31 Sora is Trust's R34 long-term demo car project, which they keep on using as a development car for their parts. It's running a set of 21Cs from Rays, and very, very clean RB26 setup. Right next to it, an interesting selection for Tokyo Auto Salon, a Mitsubishi pickup. So right here next to Trust, we have another engine giant from Japan, HKS. Always have interesting stuff to look at, and this year they start off their lineup with an FL5 Civic Type R, sitting on Yokohama Advan GTs. It's got a HKS intake and an HKS turbo kit, and you can see their SQV valve setup there. Superb looking car. I do love the Yokohama tires with the logo on the sidewall. Right next to the Civic is a GR Yaris, new generation, so basically the updated version with that funky WRC-like dash setup inside. Lots of carbon goodies here, all done by HKS, cold air intake, blow valve. Nice touches on the outside too, sitting on RG4 Yokohama Advan wheels, carbon spoiler. But the cool thing at HKS this year is something that's hiding back here. So this is HKS's long-term development car. This is the black driving performer from back in the day. Started off as kind of showing off what the V-Can was possible back in the day with the TO4Z strapped alongside it. Now it's running their RB30 engine kit, and as you notice, still runs V-Cam and a massive HKS GT single turbo alongside. I'm not sure about the numbers, but you can imagine this thing puts out a ton of power and of course a ton of torque. Now being wrapped in a pearl white. Still running Yokohama GTs in black, massive endless brake setup. And one little thing I noticed yesterday when the trunk was open is that it has an active aero wing setup that actually actuates the little secondary wing here to kind of go up and down like this. And potentially this could be an entry to Time Attack series. We'll have to chat to HKS to see what they plan for this car. But a very cool setup indeed. Other details in the aero package include this pretty hefty front lip diffuser setup, and I've actually just noticed that they're probably going to sell this GT wing here. It's actually a DRS carbon GT wing. They say it's a prototype, but this is what it looks like in operation, so you can see what the wing ends up doing. Okay, we have a little demo here of the wing to show exactly what it does. High downforce, low downforce for the straights. DRS at its best. Right, I just moved over from HKS to Yokohama Wheel. They have a crazy GT3 RS here sitting on Yokohama Advan GTs. Interesting coloring, but God, does that look good. I just love the look of these modern Porsches on GTs. Of course, center lock for these. And right behind it, rally spec GR Yaris. And the widebody Runduse GR86. I really always do love how Runduse has always approached their demo cars, and of course Time Attack cars. They really do create some of the best looking aero kits in collaboration with Varis. Looks so clean, so cool, and I do love this finish on these GTs. Gotta have the polish there, so good. And of course, you can never pass up a chance to talk about Kansai service. This is one of the old school JDM specialists. Used to be in collaboration with HKS, known as HKS Kansai service, but they kind of split ages back and decided to do their own thing. They have a sick FL5 here. And of course, their development of the R35 and of course older GTR RB powered cars continues. They don't have one this year, but they do have this Varis kitted R35 next to their GR86 and Yaris demo cars, including a Fiat 500 Abarth. Since we are in the Yokohama corner side of the Tokyo Auto Salon Hall 1, of course we got to take a look at what Yokohama have prepared for this year. They're promoting all their tire brands here at the show, starting off with the Advan Sport lineup, and they have this crazy Liberty Walk kitted Tesla Model 3 slammed down on a set of Advan GTs and Yokohama Advan Sports. It's actually the first time I see one of these Liberty Teslas, and they are pretty sick to look at. Right next to that is a 911 Speedster. Again, that center lock GT, a very much kind of crowd favorite here in Japan for the Porsche guys. Pretty cool livery on this one. I think that was an optional thing to add to the Speedster. We have an Advan Sport and Yokohama GT wearing GR86 from Orido, and the lineup ends up with this gigantic G63 running a set of 22-inch wheels on this side. Over on this side, I just spotted that these are 23-inch TE37s from Volk Racing, all custom machined. Probably a prototype wheel that is probably going to end up being put on sale later in the year for gigantic SUVs, just like the G-Wagon. And I think most GTR fans coming from abroad are definitely going to be stopping over at Top Secret. They have a very large booth this year, countless cars on display, including their R34 demo car, which we saw back at R's meeting in October. And of course, like all of Smokey Nagata's latest demo cars, they all run OZ wheels from Italy. Right here is their gold R35 demo car, and that gold has definitely changed over the years, and now they are even painting the insides of the wheels. Not sure what to make of this. You guys let me know in the comments if you like this look. Over here, 3 more gray demo cars from Top Secret. We have the 2022 Nismo, an R34 GTR, and 2 R32 GTRs. And as ever, I think Smokey is definitely trying to sell their complete cars to all the international visitors that come to Japan to collect crazy special demo cars, just like this one. I think the Naka ducts here kind of give it away. This is the VR38 powered and dual clutch equipped Top Secret 32 project. Right, I am here at Krevich now, one of those brands I still don't know how to pronounce well. But they have a couple of their long nose, kind of like a modern ZG nose on the RZ34 New Gen Fairlady Z. And this is a company that usually specializes in kind of drag setup. They've built a couple of really powerful drag R35s. And speaking of R35s, they have this crazy R356C GTR concept, kind of hinting at what they think might be a future progression of the R35 GTR. Interesting looking thing. I kind of have to see it with the hood closed, but it definitely has an R34 inspired front grille section here that actually moves up with the hood. You can see it kind of matches up with the grille that starts off from the bumper section. But the ballsy move is actually displaying this right in front of the Nissan booth. Now that takes some balls. And right here at Nissan, I have to say, you can really tell that they're struggling when it comes to finances. Their booth this year is extremely minimalistic, to put it mildly. They have a few cars on display, no big platform, no massive lineup of cars, just a few Nismo inspired concepts that they make, like the Aria and the R35 GTR Nismo, the new Gen Z, and of course the R32 EV that we saw back at the Rs meeting. A curious approach at potentially showing a future of the GTR. If they're hinting that the new GTR is going to be EV, maybe this is a way of doing it. I know it's made as a kind of passion project from some engineers at Nissan. The only thing I like about this car is the R32 original wheel design inspired 18-inch wheels that they run on this thing. I'm not sure who made these for them, but they really do fit the car very well. As for the EV engine setup here, I'm not really sure, but we can have a little peek inside at what the cabin looks like. And there is a shifter in there. I'm not sure what it's used for. It's probably just a selector for forward and reverse. But yeah, slim pickings from Nissan this year. That said, they have actually invited me to the Zama collection, so their heritage collection, just outside of Atsugi. They're going to be holding a special event tomorrow, so we're going to be heading there, checking out what they kind of want to promote for the year. I believe it's more of a 40th anniversary celebration continuing on from last year for the Nismo brand. So we're going to be checking that out. Hopefully it makes up for this kind of minimalistic booth. Like I said, trying to be polite here, but yeah, not looking too great for Nissan this year. I think for me, one of the coolest things of Tokyo Auto Salon is just indulging in all the parts and all the manufacturers that have been supporting the whole aftermarket scene for so many years. Established brands like Endless, for example, always have some of the coolest displays. Of course, showcasing all their products, but at the same time, coming up with some really, really cool original demo cars. They have a 228 Maserati here, pristine looking thing, sitting on NK wheels, showing off their Endless brake setup, front and back. But just look at that interior. It still has like vinyl protection on the seats. Let's take a look from the front. Such a cool, interesting way to do Auto Salon, bring in these really cool cars with a nice old school Sunny here on Watanabe's. Again, tiny little Endless calipers back there. And it all ends up with a couple of modern cars. We have the LBX Morizo RR Edition and one of their GR86 single make series race cars. But wait, there's a couple more down here. Let's keep going. Endless really killing it this year with their booth. So many cars to look at. You have a GR Corolla and a Bayside Blue R35 GTR Track Edition, sporting what is nothing short of a dream brake setup. Right, next booth that we have to definitely check out is the Hashimoto Corporation display area, and they really have some cool stuff on display this year. Of course, these are the guys that bring in KW suspension, you know, BBS rims, a Krapovich exhaust, Brembo brakes, all the cool brands from abroad to Japan. But this is something that's really gonna shock people in Japan. This is the first Lamborghini Huracan in Japan to get turbocharged. This runs a twin turbo setup from Boost Logic, and it has been built by Andy and his guys at Power Vehicles up in Fukushima. This thing is absolutely insane. Potentially 1500 horsepower. They just finished the build, so we're going to be actually meeting up with them up in Fukushima when the car gets mapped and ready to be driven. Definitely have to do a feature on this, but just look at the setup back here without the bumper. You get to see both the turbos literally hanging off the frame, color matched, right down to the charge coolers, body color matched. Crazy setup, and definitely a first for Japan. Alright, I'm gonna be walking back here because after doing Aria Mia, I kind of missed Varis, so I'm gonna be heading back past the guys from Rohan here who always have these crazy show cars on display. This year Rays has got some really interesting stuff. So Rays teamed up with Seeker for their FL5 demo car this year. The car actually sits on CE28Ns plus SLs, so the super lap version of what is definitely my favorite wheel from Rays, right alongside the TE37. So like I mentioned, Rays always has some really fresh demo cars to look at. This year they have the electric version of the G-Wagon that is sporting those gigantic 23-inch TE37s that we saw at the Advan booth. So these are also running the same tire setup. But what a cool thing to be seeing a G-Wagon running Japan's most notorious wheel setup. Right alongside here is the Kazama Auto GR Yaris. This car was actually used last year for a very popular McDonald's commercial here in Japan. And of course, like I mentioned, the most popular car at Tokyo Auto Salon this year, the new generation Land Cruiser. Okay, I also spotted they have the Crown SUV, which to me honestly looks like a far better designed version of the Puro Sangue Ferrari, but I don't know, you guys tell me. This is what I wanted to come and see. As you remember, when we visited Varis last month, they were working on this FL5 here, finishing off the design of their front bumper setup. This is the completed version, and as you can see, it features this triangular air intake on each corner, and this bumper is going to be used in the Super Taiki series by a bunch of FL5 teams. Right alongside that, they have their wide body S2000 and their narrow body S2000 demo car. So a cool twin S2000 setup for the center stage here at Varis. Very cool to be seeing these guys embracing old school cars again. And they're literally surrounded by a bunch of GR86s, Yarises, and a Corolla as well, which we'll go and take a look at now. Sitting on Ray's engineering wheels. These are the Volk Racing 21As. in bronze. Nice contrast with the bronze against that pearl white. Take a look at the back of the FL5 here with that Army Tricks triple exit exhaust, and the back of the S2000 widebody. So much carbon, and I'm so happy that I finally got to show you guys how these guys create their FRP and carbon fiber goodies. So I guess we have to kind of decide which one looks better. This kind of like flush fender finish or this over fender look. You guys let me know in the comments. So I noticed there's a little bit of a lineup of people here enjoying looking at this crazy project that was done in collaboration with Aria Mia. This is a Mazda Carol that has been wide-bodied so much. So the president of Garage Active is enjoying having a look at this, going for the wide body conversion like he does on his GTRs. But the cool thing about this car, and we'll see that later on probably, is that it actually runs a rotary engine. Of course, if you are a long-term fan of JDM cars, you will know Ings is one of those manufacturers that have been around for so long. Cool to see them at Auto Salon with a pairing of GR86s. So one thing about Tokyo Auto Salon that a lot of people don't understand is that probably half of the show is literally made up of vans, pickups, and just very, very Japanese type vehicles, just like the Toyota Alphard and Velfire, and of course all the boxy vans that manufacturers here love to offer. And I have to say, these things always look so sick, especially dropped on air suspension on a set of nice wheels. There's another Alphard down here, sitting even lower. These are the guys from Forte Special. And they even have a slammed Mugen Corvette wide body. As ever, it's cool when you actually see manufacturers come to Tokyo Auto Salon. I'm here at the Alpine booth. The A110 has always been a bit of a popular car in Japan, and that goes right back to the original late 70s car. And they have a couple on display here, including the R version. These are probably some of the most rewarding driver's cars out today. Not a great deal of power, but just enough for you to enjoy what is one of the sweetest mid-engined chassis out there today. So like I said, the A110R and the A110 GT. So before all the crowds start coming in, I have a little bit of time to show you as many cars as I can from this first hole here, and there is one that really blew my mind yesterday. This is the crazy Pandem. I don't even know what he calls it, but it's basically based around a Lotus Elise center section. So you can see the aluminium tub here, and then he's cut off most of the front section and extended it with some steel piping front and back. And this is basically K-Mura's new time attack car. I still have to see what the body looks like. He's shown me a couple of renders. It looks really cool, really unique. But this is all about the motor setup. This is a custom built EJ25. This runs a twin turbo setup. You can see the two intercoolers feeding the electronic throttles, so minimal piping. There is a transmission at the back here and paddle shifters. This, I believe, runs a Samsonas sequential. So the cool thing about this car is that it weighs just under 900 kilos, and that engine setup actually makes 1,000 horsepower. And it's not just, you know, a show car and all talk. He's actually going to be taking this to Attack next month in Tsukuba, and he's going to get Akira Ida to drive it and see what kind of time they can put down at Tsukuba. I think it's going to be absolutely insane to drive. I don't know how they put down 1,000 horsepower with just 900 kilos of curb weight, but hopefully we get to see the cowls put on later today. I think it's going to look absolutely insane, and what an incredible project from K-Mura at Rocket Bunny Pandem. Right next to it is another Pandem kitted car. This is the FC RX-7 we were looking at Moontech last month. They have completed the car. It looks absolutely incredible. I just love this conversion done to the FC. It runs rebarreled BBSs front and back to fill up these massive extended wheel arches and that massive wing, finishing things up at the back. There's a covered Z33Z here and a sick 911 with a pretty hardcore turbo setup. Now that is one hell of a low mounted turbo. This car sits on air suspension, that's why it's so slammed. But what an insane way to completely transform a Porsche 911. And here we have another crazy Moontech build. Unfortunately, we never got to see this last month when we visited the shop. They're still working on it. But the cool thing about this 991 is that it's pretty much fitted with the entire Porsche Cup 911 catalog. It's got all the goodies, the extended fenders at the front. It's got the vented hood, and of course the rear as well with that crazy GT wing. So this is a fun way to convert a street-going 911 into a cup car look. So you can basically drive a cup car on the street. That's probably easier than taking a real cup car and trying to make it road legal. And these little single car spots are always so much fun here at Tokyo Auto Salon. It's where you get to see the crazy projects. And right in front of Ray's here are these two 4-door new generation Jimnys. These are not even on sale in Japan. I'm not sure why they're not homologated here yet. But wherever they're made, I think they're made in India. They've been imported into Japan. You can see that crazy extended wheelbase here. And that rear door just makes the Jimny so much more of a useful car. And of course you can carry more people, which makes it even cooler. This one's been lifted, all from Masterpiece. Couple of crazy Integra Type Rs here from Clay's Racing. So what we have here is the Twin Dragon. This is a Toyota Sera twin engine, 1050 horsepower, crazy ass build. I have no idea what the hell this car is about, so we're gonna ask the guy that built it to kind of explain what's going on. But this thing is absolutely wild. Okay, so I had a chat to the guy that built this crazy Toyota Sera. So it runs a 500 horsepower K20 at the back, powering the rear wheels through the K20 Honda transmission. And then the front is powered by a 550 horsepower SR20. They both run the same turbos, so it's a truss-ready setup. And it's all linked up to the shifter here that controls both of the transmissions. They're both K20 transmissions. And apparently it's actually a very well matched setup. So it's not basically the car trying to rip itself apart, but it actually functions. What a crazy thing. You can see the crazy setup here with the twin Motec M800s powering the two engines. What an amazing project. So this is exactly what's been missing from Tokyo Auto Salon for, I would say, even over a decade. Like crazy builds that are not just based around crazy aero, like engine specific, mechanical, very well engineered and thought through crazy projects. This is exactly what we need more of in Japan. Glad to have seen this Toyota Sera. Literally blew my mind yesterday, blew my mind even more today once I found out more details about it. So I guess we keep walking. Always cool when you get to see these old school homologation special based cars. This is a really cool 190E project from Kamizawa, Japan. This is actually Toshi from RWB, his own brand. Created this really cool wide body Mercedes 190. So this runs a 2.3 Cosworth engine, a really interesting air setup here for the suspension. Right next to it is the only RWB here at Tokyo Auto Salon. This is a 997 Cabriolet that Nakai built, and it's actually owned by a very famous artist called Roland Ventura, who has used the car to open up like a special gallery here in Tokyo. He does amazing work with airbrushing, giving a unique look to this RWB. Okay, so I literally have about 5 minutes before all the crowds start flowing in, so I'm trying to walk around to see if I can spot cool, interesting stuff. And of course, Tokyo Auto Salon always has really interesting stuff hidden away. How about this Mitsubishi Mini Delica lifted up on some crazy off-road setup? I'll keep walking. There's a G-Wagon inspired 4-door Jimny. That's the third 4-door Jimny I see today. And you can see just how big these are compared to the regular one right next to it. So the new Land Cruiser, like I'm saying, is probably going to be the car of the show this year, especially when we go over to the next halls down the road here. But the Jimny is always going to win when it comes to customization. There's just so much for these cars, including the little K-van version based on the same platform, off-road van there. NK here has one car on display this year, the RZ34 GT4 race car, sporting their wheels. And here we are, two more new gen Land Cruisers. You got one for off-road and one slammed for the road. But if you really want to see a slammed Land Cruiser, we gotta head into the next hall right here. Right, here we are. 326 Power have literally slammed a new gen Land Cruiser. I'm not sure if this is on air suspension or static, but whatever it is, it looks absolutely mental. What were they thinking? I think this is going to get a lot of attention. And look at the negative camber that they've dialed into the setup. I can't believe it actually sits this low. It's so crazy. Right next to it, the 326 Power Corolla. And right next to that, a little NSX inspired K car. This is based on a Honda Beat. And I really do love the look of this. We'll have to take a look at the back. Man, they've really gone full out with the back as well here. Integrated spoiler and the NSX lights. And here at Kazama Auto, this is definitely a car everybody's talking about this year. This is the full carbon fiber bodied GR Yaris drift car. This runs a 2JZ setup and it is absolutely wild. I definitely think we need to be at the shakedown test of this car and not only see it in action but hear it. This is going to be absolutely incredible. You can see the wastegate pipe through the carbon bonnet there, and hopefully we'll be able to take a look at the engine soon. Alright, so they're actually going to open up the front cowl so I can take a look at the engine setup, and it's all in one piece basically: bonnet, fenders and bumper. And they even built up and fabricated a little support for it. Holy shit. Jesus, this is insane. What on earth have they built here? これすごいです。Oh my god. Yeah, we definitely have to check this in action. And the inside, of course. Such a well executed project. Massive link screen there. And the bright seats. This is definitely one of the craziest projects at Tokyo Salon this year. And I kind of love how they've literally like begun fusing a build, kind of like a rally WRC build for a rally car. And that really comes across in the interior, like we saw that center stack here with all the buttons and the massive screen. Down here is always where Nomuken has his Urus set up, and he's got that iconic D1 Skyline 4-door here on display, and it's right next to Alice, who have two slammed Toyota Sentries here, the new gen versions. And this white one I think is kind of recreating the GR Sentry that Toyota built for Akio Toyota. What a cool way to do Japan's most luxurious limousine. Take a look at the back. These things are massively long. Lots of legroom in the back. And while I do like this white one, you can't fault the more kind of limo approach here. Super cool work wheels, and of course the little drapes across the back. The guys at NATS here, Nihon Automobile College, always have I would guess the most comical booth here at Auto Salon, because they are allowed to pretty much go wild and crazy when it comes to crafting show-stopping creations. And this year they really have a nice selection of stuff, everywhere from single-seater race cars all the way to crazy projects like this Dakar truck inspired K-Tora over here. That's so sick. All lifted up with that close-off rear section, and you can see the inspiration right here. Take a look at the back, and it's actually all functional. There's a bunch of storage here at the back based on a Suzuki Carry. Always very cool. And then they have this old school Jeep inspired Jimny LJ20. Right, I am here at Honda Mugen, and they have something really cool here on display. This is the FL5 Civic Type R Group B pre-production model. So this is pretty much what's going to be on sale very soon. It's basically an FL5 wearing possibly the most expensive dry carbon body parts possible. Bumper, fenders, hood, side skirts, all carbon fiber right down to the rear wing, and the diffuser setup. Interestingly enough, they've only gone for a single exit exhaust here. No performance upgrades, but there's a bunch of carbon on the inside as well, and you get these Recaro bucket seats. So interesting concept here from Mugen. Not really sure why they're putting these massive barriers around the car, you can't really get to see a nice profile of it. Over here we have FL5 race car, a couple of covered cars that are going to be unveiled in an hour or two. So we'll definitely have to come back and see what these are all about. So as you guys know, Japan loves to reskin and redo regular production cars. And I'm here at Carl's Motor, where they love to put crazy American-styled grills on every possible car they can get their hands on, including the Nissan NV 200 van and the Hiace over here. These guys got famous for doing that kind of like Chevy Blazer conversion on the Toyota RAV4, and they've really taken that grille approach even further this year, doing it on all sorts of vehicles, giving a very interesting take on regular production cars. And just like I was saying, the vans are always on point at Tokyo Auto Salon. Velfires, Alfards, and even this new Crown SUV is really becoming quite popular here in Japan. This is the cool booth, and they've gone really hardcore this year with these three main demo cars on display here in front of their booth, starting off with this extreme wide-body Supra, a wide-body take on the new RZ34Z, and an R35 GTR. And I think you really have to see these cars from the back to get exactly what they're all about. Basically creating the show car approach on three of Japan's current supercars. Just look at the Supra, absolutely crazy. It even has a roof spoiler, or even a roof ducktail, you could probably call it. Proper craziness from the guys at Core Racing. Of course, alongside the new gen Land Cruiser, Toyota Japan have released two versions of this 70 series classic model, and these are pretty much all sold out, I believe, for at least they were last year. These always go so quick, and you just can't beat an old school Land Cruiser for looks and of course functionality. How about a Castrol liveried rally spec Suzuki Jimny? How cool is this? Even right down to the OZ racing wheels. Sitting right next to a pickup version of a Jimny. They've even created a little custom bed back here. How crazy is that? More big Lexus and Toyota SUVs. We've got the Lexus version of the LC300 here from MZ's Speed. But again, I just can't help myself stop every time I see one of these Crown SUVs. They are literally a better designed version of the Ferrari Purosangue. And I'm just going to show you later on what I actually mean. And I thought 326 Power were the only guys that would do a slammed new gen Land Cruiser, but here at Aim Gain they've done just that, except taken obviously a very different approach. They've kept the off-road tire and wheel setup, but dropped the entire body on the massive wheels this car sits on. Pretty cool take on the new Land Cruiser. And next to the slammed one, we have a lifted one, which of course, for me at least, fits it far better. This is probably one of the better ones I've seen today. It just is so well balanced, sits just right, and tire and wheel ratio on point. Right, let's go back to some sports cars. Right, so we go from lifted Land Cruisers to slammed supercars. We're here at Roberta, who are actually famous for doing air cups for supercars, for basically allowing them to clear ramps, on ramps and whatnot. We have a nice Diablo GT here, SF90, and a white Carrera GT. Now this is a bit of a treat because not only do we not see a lot of Carrera GTs in Japan, but to have one in white with matching white calipers is absolutely amazing. So sick. These are two very special Porsches that have been coming to Tokyo Auto Salon for quite a while. They are two demo cars from Tokyo Custom Works, and they're basically complete carbon fiber old school 911s that are going to be sold as complete cars in Japan and around the world. But you got to really see the engine and interior on these things. That is super clean, as is the interior. Carbon fiber taken right into the cabin and all finished off with these Bridgestone classics. We go from carbon Porsches to carbon wide-body Corvettes. Now this is something very special. It kind of reminds me of the old Corvette race cars from Kodama Fiber Works. This is absolutely nuts. Everybody seems to be carbonizing cars these days, and right next to that is the Impulse Hachiroku. This is a older build, but one we always love seeing here at Tokyo Auto Salon. An equally impressive engine setup right here. And look, I found another one. Carbonized Lotus Esprit. How crazy is this? I guess if you guys want more info, scan that QR code. But this is from Bon Racing. It's got the Bon Racing and Advan logos literally in the fibers. Got the forged carbon mirrors. Something very different that I've never seen at Tokyo Auto Salon. Yet another carbon fiber complete car. So we get to the very top of one of the biggest booths here at Tokyo Auto Salon every single year. Liberty Walk kills it. They have an insane selection of cars this year, starting off with a Mazda Roadster and a couple of older cars here, the Ferrari, the GTR and the Copen. But one car everybody's talking about this year from Liberty is the Koenig Specials Testarossa. This thing is absolutely wild. A really nice surprise to be seeing something like this here at their booth. It's not being body kitted by Liberty Walk or anything. This is the original Koenig competition twin turbo Testarossa. So they made these cars either as an aesthetic kit only or one that also combined the twin turbo kit engine, and they were very popular in Japan back at the very end of the bubble. Of course, people blowing a lot of money back then on cars, and especially custom creations like these. But it's always special when you come across one, and even more so when it's red on red with a twin turbo engine conversion. Tesla Liberty Walk, we saw one of the Yokohama rubber booth, another 35 GTR. The lineup to get into the Liberty Walk merch shop is insane. These guys always kill it when it comes to merch. And of course, if you're in Tokyo for the show, you would know that Liberty Walk has a shop in Harajuku, the heart of the fashionable district here in Japan, in Tokyo. And the main stand here, they have the two very special demo cars that they've built for 2025. They're going to be unveiled at 12 today, so it's still a couple of hours away. But we've all seen one. They have released plenty of pictures of the Miura under this cover, but under here is something even cooler, and we're actually going to be shooting both cars right after the show on Sunday, so you're going to be seeing a lot of these too. Still at Liberty Walk, there are plenty of other older show cars that we've come across in the last few years, right down to the F40 wide body demo car. Back to white. They had it in a blue wrap for the last year, but it's back to that original white body color that we shot a couple of years back. Always good to see it. Upsetting the purists. This is what these guys do best every year. And what a treat. We get a second Ferrari F40, not too far from Liberty Walk, sitting on a kind of recreation of the original 5-spoke wheels from MCC Complete, Aston Martin right next to it. So Toyo Tires here are getting ready for their press conference, but just before this gets really busy, I wanted to show you guys two very special cars that have been brought here to Japan this year. Mad Mike's P1 with a 3-rotor motor in the back, and Mad Mike's son's car, which is this crazy Mazda Roadster that runs a 6-rotor NA setup. I'm so happy that these cars are in Japan, and we were talking to Mad Mike yesterday. He's actually going to keep them here in Japan for the year and try to enjoy and hit up some cool events in the year here in Japan. Hopefully we'll see these two cars at Gunsai. That would be so exciting, and I just want to hear the 6-rotor in action. What a crazy build. See the way this car is being built. Very well executed. And of course the P1, which is being completely gutted. They redid everything with that 3-rotor turbo in the back. Craziest drift car of all time, possibly. Look at the exhaust here, man. The way it just pops out from the side. This is as mad as it gets. And of course driven by Mad Mike nonetheless. Amazing creation. And one I'm very happy to see here in Japan. I spotted another Land Cruiser here at JOS, one of the biggest brands in Japan for off-road. But the booth I really came all the way here to check out is Work Wheels. They always have cool rides on show, and this year they have come up with a Century sedan, because of course now Century also has the big SUV. If I can get far enough from it, we can see the wheels that the car sits on. Chrome on one side and matte black on the other. Amazing looking thing. Right next to the Century is the Lexus LC here, sitting on a set of gigantic VS's. So I'm really happy to see that the VS sizing is growing to take into account the new batch of luxury sedans, saloons, coupes, you name it. These are some of the coolest and most iconic wheel designs out of Japan. And right here is the VS setup. We go from a light silver to kind of chrome, and then to a satin finish with the black barrel. Of course, Work always has so many models on offer, but the ones I'm always looking for are of course the Meisters. And of course the cool thing with Work Wheels is the ability to basically order and customize the wheels to your liking. You can choose your barrel designs here, all the way from bronze to the usual polished silver or machined or even black, and kind of create your own custom wheel right down to the color of the bolts that holds the disc to the rim. I thought I'd drop by Subaru just to see if they have anything cool for the aftermarket, but again, sling pickings from manufacturers. There's a cool race car here, a bunch of like regular production cars, nothing too crazy, except they do have something here that's going to be unveiled later on. Of course, they always want to keep the crowds staying until the afternoon, so I don't think this is being shown until later on today. The custom Land Cruiser theme continues. Got the new LC250 here, but I did spot something really interesting. Another motoring university called Kanto Industrial College. They've brought this S30Z with a crazy 2J swap, big turbo strapped onto that straight six. And really interesting, because if this is what the next batch of mechanics, engineers from Japan are thinking about, then we're definitely going in the right direction. Really cool build and possibly a lot of fun to drive. And right next to it, they even have off-roaded a Nissan Aria, lifted it up. So this is a Nissan's EV SUV. Pretty cool to be seeing one this extreme. It's got kind of like an exoskeleton. I think they've gone for like a Dakar look with the rear hatch removed, a spare tire in the back. Very, very well executed cars for what is a industrial university. Alright, any event in Japan wouldn't be complete without a showing from Garage Active. Of course, their cars always hit so hard. They have their widebody R33 that we've seen at R's meeting. Crazy widebody creation, all carbon fiber, dry carbon, the real deal. And for Tokyo Auto Salon, they brought this beautiful R32 GTR, finished off in this semi-transparent metallic green. You can see all the carbon fibers underneath the paint, work VS's. And of course, one of their crazy engine setups. We'll see if we can have a look at the engine in a minute. But it runs an RB30 with a massive single turbo. Always Sakamoto-san getting the crowds to assemble here. Let's look at the quality of paint and carbon. The execution is fantastic. And of course, it goes right down to interior. You can see all the gusseted roll cage against the A-pillar, the Alcantara stitched dash. It's got some carbon fiber Recaros in there. And the carbon fiber stretches right back to the parcel shelf at the back, rear seat delete, and a massive roll cage finishing things up at the back. There's always something special about green GTRs. Kind of brings back memory of the wrap I had on my 34. But paint is a whole different thing, and you really get a sense of just how high quality this paint job is under the lights. Alright, we asked here to open up the hood so we can take a look at this masterpiece in here. This is one of arigatou gozaimasu. This is one of HKS's RB30 complete engines with a massive GT turbo right next to it. So this is the same engine on the HKS R34 that we saw before. VCAM, close to 1,000 horsepower right here. And TWS wheels always bring out the fire when it comes to like high-end cars. They even have Puro Sangue here running one of their wheel setups. Actually looking way better than what Ferrari fits on these cars. Ferrari always falls short when it comes to wheels. And these SUVs are becoming quite popular in Japan. Now the deliveries have officially begun. And how cool to be seeing the 296 GTB race car here. Right across from something equally special. Super fast in the fastest version. Another great spot from far away. Glad I came down here to Bridgestone, where they have the Spoon FL5 Super Taikyu ST2 class race car. So sick. Those legendary Spoon wheels. Take a look at the back. Carbon fiber rear wing. So cool to see proper race cars still being built out of production cars. You can see the catalyst right there at the end, single exit exhaust. And there's a few other race cars here at Bridgestone, including the old R35 GT500 Super GT race car. at Adrio, and this is a company that I was really excited to see up close because I found out about their design, especially around the BMW M4, maybe like a year ago, and I was kind of like impressed with what they came up with. Finally, somebody had fixed that, I don't know, overly aggressive grille on the bumper of the M cars. And I've been kind of following them on Instagram and social media in general, just to kind of see what else they do for other cars. And surprised to see them at Tokyo Auto Salon this year. And they have this booth showing off their products. Okay, so I'm here with the head of design of Adrio. And basically, I just wanted to chat to you about what you guys do. I think you literally have helped transform the perception of BMW after your redesign of the bumper. And I just wanted to kind of have your background and kind of understanding of what the design language and where it all came from, basically. So if you could kind of like show me around the car and we can kind of chat about it.
Oh yeah, sounds good. Hey guys, so my name is Davis Lee. I'm chief designer of Atro. And just to give you a little background, I was a designer at Mercedes for 7 years. And I was a senior designer at Hyundai for 4 years and Rivian for about a year. So I have 11 years of experience in exterior design. And then we started Atro 3 years ago. I'm head of design for Atro. I'm responsible for all the designs that come out.
Yeah.
So, do you want me to give you like a brief explanation about the wide body bumper?
I'm honestly from like the beginning, like, I'm quite impressed that you guys did so much in 3 years. Because I probably discovered your bumper redesign here maybe a year or two back, and I was like, yes, finally somebody's transformed that grille.
Yeah.
And I mean, is that what you guys wanted to do originally?
Exactly.
Just get rid of, maybe make it smaller, kind of bring it back to where it came from?
The grille, first of all, when the G82, G80 came out, there's so much controversy. And people are saying it looks like a buck tooth or whatever, beaver nose or whatever.
All sorts.
But for me as an exterior designer, when I first saw the car, there was something fundamentally wrong on that front. It was like usually when there's two eyes, the nose sits under the eye, right?
Yeah.
But for the G80 or G82, the nose was sitting on top of the eye.
Yeah.
So the grille was actually like on top.
Higher than the,
right?
Yeah.
And just like disregard everything that we do here.
Yeah.
Let's just say you're not looking at anything under, but just placing this grille from here to there, it just makes it look natural.
Because it's actually still pretty big. Like
it's still pretty big.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, why can't you make the grille smaller? But there's a reason, because they got this radar.
True.
So there's a limit. I mean, I wanted to make the grille a little more smaller.
But you can't.
But you really can't.
Yeah.
And there's a beam right under here, so it's like there's so little.
So you're kind of limited there.
You're very limited. That's why nobody was ever successful in making a small grille. Yeah. So there's a limit. That's the smallest you can get. You see, that's like right there.
Yeah. And is this version of the bumper like a special one to kind of match up to the wider fenders, or?
Oh no, so we first came out with this bumper for stock, and then we decided to do a wide body on top of it. That's why we couldn't get rid of the seam, because this is the bumper and then this is an add-on. Everything is carbon.
Right. And basically this, like you were saying, it's the wide version. So
wide version
progresses
of our
on to the side skirts and the rear.
Pretty much what you see here, we changed pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Like, this is a carbon hood from us. That's a carbon fender, white fender.
Yeah.
Only thing that is left stock is basically the door and the roof.
Wow. And you got the over fender there.
Over fender. This is a whole carbon piece in there.
Yeah.
Carbon side skirts. The rear fender is also carbon. We wrapped on top of it.
Yeah. What is that? Oh, right.
Oh, yeah, these are little details that we like to add just to give it more precise look, technical look.
Yeah.
It's a dual element wing because it has a lot of angle of attack. Yeah. So a lot of the air detaches from the rear. So we introduce another element hole here where the air can attach to the top as much as possible.
And you do a lot of CFD testing for
So CFD is done by Scott. He's a former Williams F1 aerodynamicist.
Wow.
He's in Australia, so we go back and forth together. So when I design a wing like this with a lot of angle of attack, he's like, the air is not going to attach, right? So he's like, why don't we do a dual element so you can attach the air to all the way to the back, because the air kind of meets up right there. So we could do the angle of attack and at the same time have an efficient wing.
And then, of course, the progression from the BMW side of things got you guys to do the Supra.
Oh yeah,
that was the next project, right? Which you guys have brought over right here, and it's literally stopping people across the show. I think they're like, wow, that is wide.
Yeah, it's pretty damn wide.
But you didn't like fundamentally change the design of the car as much as the BMW, right?
No.
So would you say it was far better designed or like well proportioned to start off with, or?
With all honesty, I think the Supra front had some fundamental issues. This is what I learned from typical Japanese companies. I remember Toyota came up with a Supra concept car, which is called FT. I forgot the name. Remember the red concept
I do remember,
car?
Yeah. They did the same with the 86. They had the really cool concept.
It looked amazing.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why the concept cars look great and production don't. Because concept cars, you can make it 2 meters wide. You can push it as low as possible. But I do understand you're taking a BMW Z platform and then putting that theme on the car, then everything becomes taller, stubbier. But Japanese companies, they like to keep the original theme. So they're putting that theme into a stubby package, which resulted in a kind of awkward situation.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the front so we can get a better idea how it all flows together.
For sure.
So again, it's like full bumper and then over fender kit.
So this is exactly, we did the same thing like the M4 bumper. We first came out with Supra bumper. Because we did some fundamental changes to it. If you remember, there was a big hump.
Oh yeah.
We got rid of it, we pushed it down. We made this way more natural. And at the same time, we got this line, we extended this line to make it more like aggressive than this cute face.
Right.
It looks way more aggressive. All of these center pieces, we went farther out to make it look as wide as possible. Also, this part is really out.
True, yeah.
We try to make it as wide as possible. And then after this bumper, we did the wide body.
Yeah.
So
again, there's two versions available.
Exactly.
And that brings us to the final car that you guys have brought over, and I think this is really kind of like changing people's opinion on the looks of the GT3. I mean, there's a lot of, I guess, owners that wouldn't really even think about doing much, design-wise to these cars. So, I mean, what was the thinking about, like, behind it?
For every car designer, they have their favorite brands. But everybody meets up at Porsche. Porsche is like the pinnacle of car design because it doesn't only look good, but there's heritage, there's function, everything meets up. So the Porsche cars, designers have huge respect for Porsche cars. And when I first saw this, I was like, damn, what am I gonna do? It's already like close to perfect, right? Am I gonna like do something crazy to just stand out of the crowd? But I don't think that's what Porsche owners want at all. Porsche owners, they want heritage, functionality. They want evolution, not revolution. Because Porsche is a very evolutionary company, right?
It's very subtle. Every upgrade they do, right?
So that was the biggest challenge, and especially not only does it have to look good, but it has to function well. GT3 is a perfectly balanced car. How are we going to not destroy that balance and make it better, right? So that was why it took so long. But totally happy with the final product.
Yeah, it just flows so well. I love the center section with all the carbon detailing.
And like all of these fins, we wanted to emphasize the silhouette, you know, because the original stops right there. We wanted to give a little bit more aggressive stance. And these are located exactly where there's a tunnel for the side radiators. So it actually catches air here and flows more.
So it does increase flow?
It does increase flow.
Wow.
Because remember, this is all open.
Sure, yeah.
So all the air is sucked towards this area is exactly where it is.
That's amazing. And the bumper is entirely made of carbon fiber, not just the front section? Or?
It's all carbon fiber. It was a plastic piece, the original.
Yeah.
So we went forward with the front lip. All the section and the length of it was heavily determined by the position of the rear wing. Like if we move this 5 millimeters out, we have to change the position of the rear wing to get the right balance.
Sure, yeah. And this flows on to, you've done the skirts as well, right?
Yes. Side skirts, we did very minimal change. We didn't want to do something crazy. But the biggest change that we have is we came out more forward, more outboard with the side skirts. So the original is about 15 millimeters more inside, but this one accentuates it.
Yeah, it's very subtle though.
It's very subtle, but it gives that, we don't want fins or crazy stuff on a Porsche. So it kind of accentuates the original shape.
No, it really does flow extremely well. And then you get to the extreme stuff back here.
Yeah, this is pretty extreme. The original GT3 plastic was around here.
Yeah.
We came out about 40 millimeters. And all of the under panel had to be redesigned.
Yeah.
So it doesn't only stop here, it goes all the way to the rear of the wheel arch. Everything is carbon underneath. We had to get the right balance of the front and the wing and the rear diffuser. So everything is redesigned here.
And it's all CFD tested,
All
obviously.
CFD tested. You're actually getting 30.2% more downforce.
30.2?
30.2.
Wow.
With a I don't remember exact numbers, but it was 1.5% more drag. So it's very efficient.
So it's a good balance.
It's very good balance. Very good efficiency. So these all work together, the position of the wing and the diffuser and the front lip. And of course the wing is one of my favorite parts.
So GT3 RS inspired.
GT3 RS is kind of inspired wing, but it's the section of the wing and the finish of the wing that I'm really proud of. I think it's the finish is even better than the GT3 RS. Every hardware is hidden. Usually you get these bolts to attach the end plates. Yeah. Everything is made to hide all the hardware.
It's super clean.
So these aluminum holders are planted underneath the carbon, so it has all the reinforcement strength. But at the same time, this is aluminum and this is carbon.
Oh wow! Okay,
and you don't see the gap.
Yeah. It just flows from one to the other.
Yeah, it just flows from the carbon to aluminum. And all of these 6-degree adjustable wing. Yeah. These are titanium custom-made Atro bolts.
Yeah.
So all of these details, we spend tremendous amount of time because we know
it's usually the small stuff that takes the longest,
completely.
right? To kind of develop.
It's easy to do 98%, but that 2% is what makes a big difference.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks amazing, man.
Yeah,
I really appreciate you showing in detail
for sure
the whole thinking behind it. It just makes even more sense now. I really hope we get to see a lot of these kids here in Japan.
Oh yeah, for sure. Looking forward.
Thanks so much, man.
Yep.
I came over to the other hall because I knew Casey was going to bring his S13s. We saw this car in pieces some months ago, and it's now a complete car that he's been using and abusing in his usual manner. We'll go in and have a word with him right now. There he is. So it's all done, eh?
All done.
You happy with it?
Yeah, very happy.
You've been using it and abusing it, yeah?
When did you come down to Nara?
So we were down in July.
July.
Yeah.
Super hot.
It was super hot, and
So after that,
I think it was like a couple of weeks after that that you had it pretty much built
I
up.
think we did shakedown at Mayhan for lights, doing lights. And then put all the old panels, painted the rest of the stuff, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Then we painted had the engine bay painted, interior, and I think that was it when you guys saw it.
Yeah. Sick, man. Looks so good.
Month after you guys were there, it was pretty much done.
Yeah.
And then Auto Salon lowered it, put bigger wheels on it, and just...
Is this the first time you get a car into TAS?
Yeah, first time.
Congratulations,
Thank you, man. Always a dream.
Sick
Very
stuff.
surreal.
Looks so good in camera, man, with all the colors.
Does it?
Yeah, it just pops there. And what's going on with that one?
I don't know. It's something
Well, it's
different,
the
I guess.
year of the snake, right? I guess that's a snake.
And you.
It looks like a dragon, though.
Yeah, it is dragon, yeah.
Is it a dragon?
A year late. I mean, it's... Yeah.
It's awesome,
Well,
man.
it's Auto Salon, I guess.
It is.
You never know. Next year, everyone might be doing it.
Yeah, there you go. All right, we're here with Rico's two cars. If you guys remember, we actually saw his original hachiroku build last year. This is the one with the 3S. Really, really clean, shaved engine bay, all done properly, kind of chassis up, rebuilt. And then he showed up with a second one this year. So it's kind of like a different flavor of approaching an 86 build. Kind of a more old school approach. He's got a full built 4A in here, dry sumped, so that's why it sits that low. Shaved engine bay, Mikuni carburetors, and he's got the oil tank there for the dry sump. Sits on tiny little 14s, slightly darker gold, but meticulous build quality throughout. Really cool way of approaching the cabin design here with the instrumentation laid out on the center console there. Old school vintage JDM steering wheel. And pretty serious roll cage throughout. So kind of two flavors, right? So you can go engine swap, go crazy wide body N2 style fenders, or narrow body, simple, slam down to the ground on tiny little 14s. I think you guys have to tell me which approach you prefer. Spark plugs. They have this really sick 11 on display sitting on some Rays T37Vs. Really nicely built engine right down to the dry sump system. Really cool to be seeing such a cool kind of circuit focused hachiroku. Full Bridgestone interior, including all the door trim as well. Super sick build, and it runs a Motec dash. Oh, apologies, it is pretty loud here. I just came to the Toyota booth and I found this GR Yaris with a crazy camo, no engine in the front, but if you go back here, where everybody seems to be looking at in front, you'll notice that it's powered by a rear-mounted engine, the G20E. Not sure what this is all about. Possibly a hydrogen powered car. I'm not really sure. But seems to be getting the attention of a lot of people. And rightly so. Toyota coming up with all the interesting stuff at Tokyo Auto Salon for so many years now. And I have to say this has got me pretty intrigued. They actually have engine here on display, so this is the G20E that powers this rear engine GR Yaris, single turbo, coil on plug, electronic throttle there. very modern engine design. It's extremely tall, I have to say. It kind of reminds me of a 3S. But what is Toyota up to? Right here is another big surprise at Tokyo Auto Salon from Tom. So these are the guys that collaborate very closely with Toyota to create some of the craziest race cars of all history here in Japan. And of course they have their own brand that does tuning and parts. And they have really surprised people here by showing up with body in white hachiroku chassis. So this is going to be a program that they're going to be launching to restore these cars. But the thing that really blew my mind is what we have here. So they are going to be offering a tuning program for 3 very special engines from Toyota. We have the 2J, the 3S, and the 4A, all the way down there. So they're going to be offering all the way up from Spec 1, Spec 2, Spec 3, kind of OEM, all the way to kind of like a custom tuned version of each. So basically, this is one of the very few official tuning packages that will be offered on Toyota engines. Kind of what Nismo does with the Omori factory lineup of engines. So really cool to be seeing this happening with Toyota Motors, and from a brand like Tom's nonetheless. Right, I dropped by Velside quickly just to see this S30 that I saw being unloaded yesterday. Really cool engine setup. Possibly one car that we might want to do a full video on. The rest of the display is pretty much some of the older cars they built over the last few years. And they have a massive booth here. And I think the reason there are so many people here waiting is because they got Sun Kang over to do some promotion with them, so everybody's expecting to see the actor from Fast and Furious. Right, I'm at the very back of this North Hall, and this company called Star has got some crazy cars here. JGTC inspired S15 Silvia, and this crazy wide body Akoska carbon craziness here. Still work in progress. Not much happening in the interior. As you can see, there's not even a windscreen, but wow, everybody going carbon crazy. I'm here at Car Modify Wonder. We got Alexi's car here, and it's sitting right next to Rocky Auto. So if you remember, we did a video on Rocky and their 2000 GT inspired creations. But for this year, Rocky's got something very, very interesting, and the beginning of their next project. So the crazy thing about this car is that it's actually a reskinned Formula car. So as you can see, it's a single-seater Formula car, one damper at the front, and it's been reskinned with a Nissan R380 body. And somehow, I'm not sure how Watanabe-san did it, but he actually got it road registered to be used in Japan. This is actually not going to be on sale. This is just a one-off, but it's going to be the beginning of their next project after the 2000 and 3000 GT, and they're going to be basing the chassis on the Elise. So this is going to be something that we're definitely going to be hitting up soon once the project gets going later this year. And Tokyo Auto Salon is really changing. A few years ago they had strippers in kind of like plexiglass tubes dancing around. This year they have Takumi's rebuilding RB26s. How cool is that? So this guy's doing a full restoration and rebuild on a old RB26 motor in Hall 8, and I have to go into that mess over there. Liberty Walk has just unveiled their two show cars. So they got the Miura, I guess, barn find that they found and recovered with different cowls. And then they have a Bosozoku style R32. We are going to shoot both of the cars after the show on Sunday. So I'm just gonna go take a little quick look, and for like all the kind of detailed stuff, you can expect to see that in the video that's gonna happen after the show. So I'm just gonna spend a bunch of time with those two cars in Tokyo. I think I'm gonna be shooting with Larry and kind of do the same thing we do every year, put crazy cars in crazy locations in Tokyo and make them look good. There is the Miura, all unveiled and in all its glory. An interesting car to be used for a project like this, but then again, Liberty Walk always does try to upset the purists. And here is a second car, which for me does really stand out quite a lot as a Liberty car. This 32 based Shackleton craziness. All it needs is Takayari at the back and it's ready to go. It's got the shark nose conversion at the front. It's gonna look sick in the pictures. And it's got that kind of rear end that matched up to the previous silhouette cars that they come up with. The R32 looks sensational. Right next to the Miura here. Music is loud as hell here, but I just wanted to show you guys the rear of the Miura. You can see the Miura logo back there, massive rear wing sprouting out from the center of the bumper. Absolute craziness from Liberty Walk. And we are at the back of the 32. This thing is ridiculously wide. It's gonna look so cool out on the streets of Tokyo. Hopefully we can convince these guys to bring it out, because they're saying, well, the Miura can't be pushed, right? I mean, the Miura can't be driven, it can only be pushed. And then this one is kind of a little bit too low. We'll see. I think me and Larry really want to push for a cool location. And I just spotted one thing that makes this car even cooler. Once again, they've collaborated with Mizuno Works on this build. But I do spot some PRP goodies under there. It looks like an RB25 powering this thing. This is gonna look insane once we get it out of this really loud show.